You want to dominate every draft. In this Warcraft 3 Direct Strike guide, I give you the best tips to outdraft everyone. Let's look at the frontliner, guys. The Ghoul is the worst of them all. No armor, low damage, low health. Is simply not tanky enough to be in front line, so don't pick him, guys. Footmen are pretty decent. They have 200 HP, 2 armor, okay damage. Defend is really good against early pierce damage, and this is a solid pick. The Grunt is a very good front line. So this is like a really good pick, and also the tier 2 upgrade is pretty strong overall. Huntress is, if you ask the pros, the best of the tier 1 frontliner. Really good Moonglaves upgrade on tier 2. Next, the tier 1 backliner. The Fiend is the worst of them all. Simply don't pick the Fiend. Riflemen are good. They have high damage, pierce, fine range, have also a good upgrade. Archers, also solid pick. Is scaling better than the Rifleman. The upgrades are pretty good, and they are scaling also on tier 2 and tier 3. And the best unit on the backline is for sure the Headhunter, because the Berserk upgrade on tier 3 is simply insane. The tier 1 casters, guys. The premium pick here is for sure the Shaman, because he's giving you not only the Dispel, which is really important in the early game, and the Bloodlust is really good damage scaling on tier 3. Dryad is also a solid pick. Gives you magic immunity, good pierce damage, has also the Dispel, which only costs 50 to upgrade, and this is something you also can definitely pick. I personally don't like the Sorcerers and Banshees, because they don't have Dispel, and that's really important, especially in the early game. So I would kind of try to avoid picking them, but it's also way better to pick a good frontline with like bad casters, because the frontline is way more important in the early game. You should always try to pick in the early game the most for the front line, then for Dispel, and then for actually the backline. Let's come to the siege units, guys. I would say Demolisher and Meat-Dragon are better than Glaives and Mortar, because you can give them an AoE upgrade. Let's come to the further tier 2 units. Priests are really good to pick on tier 2 if you also especially don't have a Dispel on tier 1. They give you healing, which is very valuable. You want to always on tier 2 healing. That's really basic. And also Inner Fire gives you at least a lot of survivability. So priests are very good. Gargs are very situational. They can be good to counter different things. The Witch Doctor is also not really a pick you want to go for. It's more something you get on top with the other units you want. And the Hippogriff is very strong against air. If you have Archer on tier 1, you could also mount them later in the game if you want, but it's just an anti-air unit. So if your enemy is not playing air, yeah, then he's pretty useless. Next tier 2 units, Spellbreaker are spell immune obviously, so it's really good if your enemy is playing like Blizzard or Lightning Strike, then you can avoid the damage of it. Necros are a really good pick on tier 2. The Unholy Frenzy gives you on tier 2 a massive damage boost, and also the Skeletons are very strong. They can be really snowbally if the enemy doesn't have any Dispel. So Necros are a really good pick on tier 2 in general. Spirit Walker gives you AoE Dispel on tier 2. So that's pretty strong. If you get on tier 3 the Torrents, you have a good combo to actually get a really beefy frontline. Spirit Link gives you also a bit more survivability. And Druid of the Claw is very good with the Roar. The Roar gives you like an insane damage boost. The next tier 2 units are Flying Machines. I mean, they are kind of as Hippos, pure anti-air. And I really don't like them, guys, because they are not doing the job against the most units. Statue is really good. Gives you AoE healing. Like that's a really premium pick on tier 2 because it gives you instant healing on 8 units. That's very strong. Orc Raider, yeah, they're not offering you what you want. You don't want to have him. That's it. And Druid of the Talon is a decent pick. To mix one in your army is actually valuable because he gives you minus armor on the enemies, which is pretty strong. But you don't want to play mass of them. The Dragonhawk Riders are pretty bad. The Shade is something you can pick, I guess, in lower MMR brackets below 1500. Then you can like steal some gold from the enemy with mid control. But in higher brackets, he will just always get cleared out and will do nothing. Kodo Beast. That's something you should definitely pick if you can, guys. That's really strong. Gives you for 270 gold a big body and a free endurance aura on top, which is really scaling into late game very hardly and enhances the damage of your army. Fairy Dragon are also pretty decent to mix in. This is the hard counter to all mass caster builds, obviously. On tier 3, it is most about the damage type. Like knights and ebos and torrents are not having that much of a difference. So I think the main thing you want to look on tier 3 frontline is the damage type. So if you have like, for example, on tier 1 footies, they are also heavy armor. And therefore you would love to see here the mountain giants to get medium armor so that your frontline on tier 1 is not getting countered from the same as your tier 3 frontline. The siege engines are the only frontline which is actually fortified, and fortified means that they only take actually really damage from siege damage. Siege is a damage type which the most comps are not playing on tier 1 and tier 2 and are just really tanky. Also a pretty premium pick are the Destroyer. Why? Because they're giving you must dispel. They also have a quite high damage output, and on tier 3 you also want to add onto your backline magic damage, because magic damage is strong against tier 3 frontline units. Yeah, so Destroyer, very good pick. Bat Rider, only there like to counter other air units, not so strong, only in situational games good, so rather a bad pick. And Hippogriff Rider can be good, but also very situational, so I can't really recommend to play them. What is great to pick for is, for example, Frostrum or Chimera, because they have also really high magic damage. They have like high damage overall. They are pretty expensive, sure. They are just very good if you can enhance them with like Unholy Frenzy or Bloodlust. The Wind Rider is really bad, and the Griffin Riders are actually also decent. Here's like also a small table of the attack and damage types, which I was talking about a bit. Tell me in the comments, guys, what do you think is a good comp? What are the best units? You like the video? Then subscribe and like there, guys. Thanks!